For the first few years of your life, you were awake for every moment of it. You learned to walk, you learned to talk, you loved people, feared things, felt joy and pain more intensely than you ever would again. And you don't remember a single second of it. 3 whole years of being alive, completely erased. So where did they go? The answer isn't that those memories faded. It's that your brain deleted them on purpose. Let's start with the part almost nobody gets right. You assume you can't remember being a baby because babies can't form memories yet, that their little brains are blank, just soaking things up, not recording. But that's wrong. Babies remember. In the 1980s and 90s, a psychologist named Carolyn Rovey Collier ran one of the most charming experiments in all of science. She tied a ribbon from a baby's ankle to a colorful mobile hanging over the crib. The baby kicks, the mobile dances. Within minutes, every baby figured out the trick. Kick, and the world moves. Then she took the mobile away. Days later, she brought it back, no ribbon attached. And the babies, some only 2 months old, started kicking immediately. They remembered. A 2-month-old held onto a memory for over a week. So the problem was never that babies can't remember. The problem is so much stranger than that. Here's what makes this one of the great mysteries of the human mind. Those first years are the most explosive learning period you will ever have. As an infant, your brain was building over 1 million new neural connections every second. You learned an entire language from scratch. You learned that you are a separate person from your mother. You learned to walk, to recognize faces, to fear falling. More happened inside your head in those years than in any decade since, and almost none of it survived. The average person's earliest memory lands somewhere around age 3, or 3.5. Everything before that is gone, and the few years after it are patchy at best. Sigmund Freud noticed this over a century ago, and gave it a name that still sticks: infantile amnesia. He was wrong about a lot of things. He was right about this. There is a wall in your memory, and on the other side of it is the most important person you ever became. You being assembled, and you cannot reach a single moment of it. So why? Why would evolution build a brain that records everything, and then throw the first chapter away? For most of the last 100 years, scientists thought they had the answer. Deep in your brain sits a small, seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. It's the part that takes a moment, a smell, a face, a place, and binds it into a single memory you can revisit later. And in a baby, the hippocampus is still under construction. The wiring isn't finished. So the thinking went, babies can't form lasting memories because the machine that records them isn't built yet. Case closed. The first years are blank because nothing was ever written down, except in 2025, that answer fell apart. A team at Yale, led by neuroscientist Nick Turk-Brown, did something that sounds almost impossible. They got awake babies, some as young as 1 year old, to lie still inside an fMRI scanner, the machine that watches the brain light up in real time. Then they showed each baby a series of new images, faces, objects, places, and watched the hippocampus while it worked. And the hippocampus lit up. In infants over 1 year old, the moment a baby was forming a memory of something new, that little structure fired almost exactly the way an adult's does. Even better, the babies whose hippocampus lit up the most were the ones who later recognized the image. They weren't failing to record. They were recording. Let that sink in, because it quietly rewrites the whole mystery. The memories of your infancy may not be missing because they were never made. They may have been made, stored, written down, and then lost. And those are 2 completely different kinds of forgetting. Because if the memories were never recorded, they're simply gone, like a camera that was switched off. But if they were recorded and then became unreachable, that means something far eerier. It means they might still be in there. So what happens to them? One of the leading answers comes from a pair of neuroscientists, Paul Franklin and Sheena Jocelyn, working in Toronto. And it involves a kind of beautiful sabotage. In adults, the brain barely grows new neurons. But in an infant, the hippocampus is a construction site, flooded with brand new brain cells at a furious rate. That explosion of new neurons is part of what lets a baby learn so fast. But it comes at a cost. Every time you wedge a new cell into an existing circuit, you disturb the connections already there. You're building new shelves into a library while the books are still on them. Franklin and Jocelyn showed in mice that when they cranked up this flood of new neurons, the animals forgot. When they slowed it down, the memories survived. The very thing that makes a baby a learning machine is the thing that quietly erases what it learns. But erases might be the wrong word. Because in those same animal studies, the lost memories weren't truly destroyed. Using light to switch on the exact cells where a memory had been stored, scientists could bring it back. The mouse remembered something it had completely forgotten. The memory was never gone. It was just buried under everything that came after, with no path left to reach it. And there's one more layer, maybe the most human one. To file a memory as your memory, I did this happened to me, you need an I to file it under. A sense of yourself as a single person moving through time. Babies don't have that yet, it's still forming. You also need language, a way to wrap an experience in words so you can pull it back later. Researchers have found that when something happens to a child before they have the words for it, they usually can't describe it afterward, even once they can talk. The memory was filed in a language the older you no longer speaks. So you didn't just forget your infancy. The person who lived it didn't fully exist yet, and the one who could have kept the records hadn't learned to write. Which brings us back to the question, why would a brain do this? Here's the answer scientists are circling toward, and it's strangely comforting. Forgetting isn't a flaw in the system, it is the system. A baby's job is not to remember individual days. It's to extract the rules of the entire world from scratch, what faces mean, how language works, that dropped things fall and warm arms mean safety. To do that, the brain has to keep what matters and throw away the rest, at a scale no adult brain ever attempts. The specific memory of one Tuesday afternoon is the cost. The deep, wordless knowledge of how to be a human is what you bought with it. You don't remember those years because you were too busy becoming the person who could remember anything at all. So no, your first 3 years aren't lost, they're underneath. Every time you reach for a word without thinking, trust a familiar face, feel calm when someone holds you, you're using them. They're not in your photo album, they're in your hands, your reflexes, the shape of who you are. You are a finished building standing on a foundation you'll never be allowed to see. And somewhere in there, sealed behind a wall your own brain built on purpose, is a small person who felt everything for the first time. The first time you ever saw your mother's face. The first time the world made sense, and then quietly handed all of it to you, and disappeared. You were there for the most important moments of your life. You just won't ever get to remember them. And the strangest part is, you're the one who decided that.